The Galactic Empire's Judgment Hall was vast and cold. Its ceiling was so high that clouds floated inside it, shaped by gravity fields and light. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in silent rows, their eyes glowing, blinking, or shifting colors as data streamed into their minds. At the center of the hall stood a single human. Ambassador Elias Morgan did not wear armor. He did not carry a weapon. He stood with his hands folded, his face calm, his eyes tired. Behind him, a large holographic screen showed broken images, human ships torn apart, floating pieces of metal, and small escape pods drifting into empty space, most of them never opened. The presiding judge of the Empire spoke, its voice echoing like metal scraping stone. The Galactic Empire acknowledges the incident, the judge said. However, the destruction of 3 human refugee convoys was a necessary strategic action. Elias lifted his head slowly. Those ships carried no soldiers, he said. His voice was steady, but quiet. They carried families. The judge did not react. According to our records, the judge continued, 74% of the casualties were classified as non-combatants. Among them humanoids. A low murmur passed through the hall. Some delegates showed discomfort. Others showed nothing at all. Elias took one step forward. You killed our children, he said. The judge tilted its head, as if considering a small detail. The loss of juveniles, the judge replied, is statistically irrelevant to the long-term survival of your species. The words hung in the air, statistically irrelevant. For a moment, Elias said nothing. His hands tightened, then relaxed. He looked at the hologram again. The image changed now, showing a child's shoe floating alone in space, slowly turning. Many in the hall expected the human to shout. Humans were known for emotion, rage, noise, but Elias did none of that. He simply nodded. I understand your position, he said. That surprised them. The judge leaned forward. Then you accept the Empire's ruling? Elias looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of beings far older and stronger than him. When he spoke again, his voice was soft. Humanity accepts that you have made your choice. He turned and walked away. No threats were spoken. No war was declared. The Galactic Empire recorded the hearing as complete and moved on to the next matter of business. To them, it was finished. On Earth, the news spread quietly. There were no riots in the streets, no burning buildings, no angry speeches from world leaders. News anchors spoke in calm voices. The names of the lost ships were read once, then not repeated again. Schools closed early that day. Parents came home from work and held their children a little tighter. Some cried in private. Some sat in silence. Some stared at the sky. And then something strange happened. The world went quiet. Human military bases did not activate. Fleets did not launch. The Empire's observers reported that human communication traffic dropped instead of rising. They are doing nothing, one alien analyst said. No mobilization detected. Another replied, confused. Perhaps they are afraid. On Earth, factories changed what they produced. Research labs canceled public projects and sealed their doors. Old data archives were opened. Old laws were set aside. Humanity did not argue. Humanity prepared. Elias Morgan stood alone in a dark room deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, screens showed faces from every nation. Generals, scientists, engineers, and people who had never held power before. A woman with gray hair spoke first. Are we agreed? Elias nodded once. No speeches, he said. No warnings. A young engineer swallowed. And if they ask why? Elias closed his eyes. Then we tell them the truth, he said. They already know why. In the far reaches of space, a small Empire listening station suddenly lost contact with a supply relay. No explosion was detected. No energy spike. It simply went dark dot. The Empire marked it as a technical failure. Then another station. Went silent dot, then another. Still, no human fleet was seen. No message was sent. Back on Earth, a child's name was added to a long list. Then another. And another. Each name was read aloud in a quiet room by people who would never forget. Them. Elias stood at the front of that room. They believed our silence meant weakness. He said softly. He looked at the list. They were wrong. If you are enjoying this story so far and want to hear what happens next, you can gently support this channel by subscribing. It helps these stories reach more people who love HFY science. Fiction. Elias turned away from the list and toward the future. Humanity was done speaking, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The Galactic Empire waited for the human response. It was used to this pattern. A smaller species would protest, threaten, then rush into a short and hopeless war. Humans had always been loud, emotional, easy to read, but days passed, and weeks. And nothing happened. No. Fleets moved from Earth. No declarations were sent. No angry messages filled the Empire's communication nets. To the Empire, it felt wrong. In one of the Empire's observation chambers, Annalus Threx watched the data stream scroll past his vision. Human space was quiet. Too quiet. Repeat the scan, he ordered. The technician hesitated. We have repeated it 7 times, Overseer. Human military activity remains below baseline. Threx's claws tightened. Below baseline after losing refugee convoys? Yes, that made no sense. On Earth, the silence was not empty. Deep underground, cities within cities had come alive. Old bunkers were reopened. Forgotten tunnels were cleaned. Power systems that had not been used for decades hummed back to life. Humans worked without shouting. Scientists stopped publishing papers and started building things they did not name. Engineers took designs that were once marked impossible and crossed out that word. Farmers sent food to places they had never heard of, without asking why. No one needed to be told what to do. Everyone already knew. Elias Morgan moved through these places like a ghost. He did not command. He listened. When he spoke, it was only to ask one question. Are we ready? The answer was always the same. Soon. In orbit above Earth, an old satellite shifted its position for the first time in 20 years. It sent a single burst of data to the dark side of the moon, then went silent again. The Empire noticed none of it. Instead, they grew confident. They have accepted our judgment, one Imperial Lord said during a council meeting. Humans understand their place. Another clicked in agreement. Their silence confirms it. Threx was not convinced. Silence does not always mean surrender, he warned. Some species are not humans, the Lord interrupted. Humans are emotional. They break loudly. Threx said nothing more. Far from Earth, at the edge of an unimportant star system, an Empire supply outpost floated alone. It was small, lightly guarded, and boring. A place for junior officers and long shifts. The sensors detected nothing unusual. That was the first sign of danger. Inside the outpost, lights flickered once. Just once, then stabilized. The crew barely noticed. Moments later, all external communication links shut down. What was that? A guard asked. System glitch, another replied. Run diagnostics. They never finished. The outpost did not explode. There was no fire, no screaming alarms. Its power simply drained away, like water through unseen cracks. Doors locked. Consoles went dark. And then, in perfect silence, the station drifted. By the time the Empire realized the outpost was gone, there was nothing left to find. No wreckage. No bodies. Just empty space. They marked it as a mysterious failure. On Earth, a quiet room filled with soft light displayed a single symbol turning green. A woman exhaled slowly. Phase 1 confirmed. Elias nodded. Proceed. What about warning them? Someone asked. Elias shook his head. They were warned. In that hall. They chose not to listen. Across human space, similar rooms activated. Lines of communication that had never existed before came online. Human ship small, dark, and unmarked slipped into motion. They did not use standard drives. They did not announce themselves. They did not fly in fleets. Each ship carried people who had lost someone. A daughter, a son, a brother. In the Empire's capital, Threx stood alone, staring at a growing list of unexplained losses. This pattern? He whispered. Supply relays vanished. Listening posts went dark. Patrol ships failed to report in. Still no human message arrived. At last, Threx spoke the thought that chilled him. They are not attacking us, he said. They are removing us. The council laughed when he reported it. You imagine threats where none exist? They told him. Threx looked at the data one last time. Every lost station shared one detail. It was connected, even indirectly, to the refugee convoy attack. Someone was counting. On Earth. Elias stood before a wall filled with names. The list was longer now. He placed his hand against the glass. Silence is not forgiveness, he said quietly. Above him, unseen by any alien sensor, humanity's shadow moved, and the Empire still believed nothing was happening. Admiral Koravath had fought in 12 wars and crushed 7 rebellions. He had never feared a weaker species. Humans were listed in Empire records as adaptive, emotional, and inefficient. Not dangerous. That assessment shattered in one night. The warning came too late. An outer defense platform near the Vest corridor stopped responding. Then a patrol cruiser vanished while answering its distress call. No explosions were detected. No weapons fire. Space remained calm and empty. Run a full scan, Koravath ordered. The tactical officer's voice trembled. Admiral, there is nothing to scan. Koravath turned slowly. Explain. There are no energy signatures. No debris. No enemy vessels. That made his spines rise. Empire enemies always announced themselves. Pride demanded it. Humans, it seemed, did not share that weakness. Hours later, the first human ship revealed itself. It appeared inside the corridor without warning, as if space itself had opened and released it. The vessel was small, matte black, and wrong. Its surface absorbed light instead of reflecting. It Koravath felt an unfamiliar emotion. Unease. Hail them, he commanded. No. Response. Lock weapons. The targeting systems failed. Admiral, the officer whispered. Our sensors cannot hold the target. It keeps slipping. Before Koravath could speak again, the human ship was gone. Then the alarm screamed. Empire systems began shutting down one by one. Power grids collapsed. Command channels filled with static. Doors sealed. Internal lights dimmed to red. This is not an attack, Koravath realized. This is a dissection. Human ships appeared in different parts of the sector, never together, never close. Each strike was precise. A relay here. A command node there. Always the same result. Blindness. The Empire's strength had always been coordination. Humans were cutting the nerves. On one station, a junior officer stared at a screen showing a human figure standing in a corridor. The image was grainy, distorted. The human looked ordinary. No armor, no visible weapon. The officer opened a channel. Why are you doing this? The human stepped closer to the camera. You know why, the human said calmly. Then the feed ended. Koravath watched reports pile up. Systems lost. Fleets scattered. Entire sectors unable to communicate with each other. Still, the humans did not conquer territory. They did not raise flags. They did not demand surrender. They fight like ghosts. Koravath muttered. No, his second-in-command replied softly. They fight like parents. That word hit harder than any weapon. Across human space, ships returned to hidden docks. Crews did not celebrate. They removed helmets and sat in silence. Some stared at nothing. Some held small objects, photos, toys, names engraved on metal. One pilot whispered a name before leaving her ship. Back in the Empire capital. Analyst Threx stood before the council again. You are wrong, he said. Humans are not weak. The council was silent now. They are not fighting for land, Threx continued. They are fighting for memory. And they will not stop. A council lord asked, voice tight. Can we defeat them? Threx hesitated. Yes, he said slowly. In battle? Then why do you hesitate? Because this is not a battle, Threx replied. This is punishment. On Earth, Elias Morgan watched the galaxy map shift. Human-controlled zones did not expand. Instead, red markers' Empire losses appeared like quiet stars. A young officer approached him. They are afraid now. Elias nodded. They should be. Will we send a message? Elias looked at the wall of names again. Not yet, he said. Let them remember first. Far away, Admiral Koravath stood on the bridge of his flagship as power returned slowly to some systems. He felt older than he had ever felt before. He understood something at last. The Empire had seen only one side of humanity, the loud, hopeful, forgiving side. Now, they were meeting the other one, and it did not ask for mercy. The Galactic Empire had always believed fear belonged to smaller species. Now, fear sat in its council chamber. The great circular hall was filled, but no one spoke at first. Data screens floated in the air, showing red symbols spreading across Imperial space. Each symbol marked a lost station's, fleets, command nodes. Not destroyed, removed. They are bleeding us without cutting deep. One council lord said finally. Another replied, this is impossible. Humans do not possess this level of coordination. Analyst Threx stepped forward. His voice was calm, but his eyes were tired. They do, he said, because they are not using command hierarchy. They are using purpose. The council turned toward him. Explain, the presiding judge demanded. Threx pointed to the map. Every target they strike connects to one event. The refugee convoy attack. Logistics. Authorization chains. Officers who approved it. A ripple of unease moved through the room. They are not fighting our empire, Threx continued. They are hunting responsibility. That word silenced them. Across Imperial space, confusion grew into panic. Fleets moved, then stopped, unsure where to go. Orders contradicted each other. Backup systems failed in ways engineers could not explain. Human attacks did not repeat patterns. When the Empire adapted, the humans changed. On the border world of Kesh 9, a heavily defended fortress stood ready. It was a symbol of Imperial strength. The Council chose it as a test. If humans strike here, a general said, we will destroy them. The fortress waited. Days passed. Then nothing happened. Relief spread until the fortress's main reactor shut down without warning, not an explosion. A clean shutdown. Perfect and impossible. Emergency power activated. Guns came online. And then the supply docks vanished. A human voice echoed through the fortress. Speakers. Calm, clear. This facility will remain intact, the voice said. You will survive. You will remember. Then silence. The Empire retook the fortress hours later. It still stood, but it was useless. A monument to failure. News of this spread faster than any human ship. Whispers followed. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. Fear grew deeper. In the Empire capital, the council met again. This time, no one dismissed threats. We misjudged them, the judge admitted. We believed emotion made them weak. Threx shook his head. Emotion gives them focus. A council lord asked, "What do humans want?" Threx answered without hesitation. Acknowledgement. A channel opened. A human transmission forced its way into the chamber, bypassing security systems as if they were not there. Elias Morgan appeared. He looked older now. Not weaker, harder. "You asked what we want," Elias said. "We want you to understand." The judge straightened. "This conflict can be negotiated." Elias's eyes did not change. "This is not a conflict," he said. "This is a lesson." Behind Elias, a list of names appeared. Thousands. Children. Civilians. "These are the ones you called irrelevant," Elias continued. "We are simply returning relevance." The transmission ended. Silence followed. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Empire felt small. On Earth, Elias stood alone after the call ended. A woman approached him. "They are afraid now," she said. "They should have been careful instead," Elias replied. "What happens next?" Elias looked toward the stars. "They will try to apologize," he said. "And we will decide what that means." Far away, in a dim corridor of the Empire capital, Analyst Threx paused and placed a clawed hand against the wall. "We were wrong about humans," he whispered. "They do not forget. And they do not forgive easily." The galaxy had entered a new age. An age where humanity's silence spoke louder than war. The Galactic Empire decided to speak. It had delayed for too long, hoping the humans would stop on their own. They did not. The losses continued, not loud, not dramatic, but constant. Like water wearing down stone. So the Empire did what it had never done before. It asked for peace. A high-priority transmission was sent across secure channels, marked with symbols of apology and negotiation. Resources were offered, territory, technology, even public admission of error. In the council chamber, the presiding judge addressed the galaxy. "The Galactic Empire recognizes that mistakes were made," the judge said. "We are prepared to compensate humanity for its losses." On Earth, Elias Morgan listened in silence. Around him stood people who had lost everything. Parents, siblings, survivors. A young man spoke quietly. "They want to pay." Elias nodded. "They want to forget." The reply was sent hours later. It was short. "We do not accept compensation." The Empire was stunned. Another message followed, carefully worded, respectful. "What do you want?" Elias stood before the camera this time, not in a hall, not in anger. "Just truth. You believe this is war," he said. "It is not." He gestured, and images appeared. Empire fleets frozen in space, weapons disabled, reactors locked at safe levels. "We could destroy you." Elias continued. "We chose not to." The judge interrupted. "Then why continue?" Elias's voice hardened slightly. "Because war ends when someone wins," he said. "Judgment ends when someone understands." Human ships moved again. This time the Empire saw them. For the first time, a human fleet gathered in one place. Not massive, not threatening in appearance, just present. They surrounded the Empire's strongest armada, the fleet that had approved the refugee convoy strike. Weapons did not fire. Human ships transmitted control signals instead. One by one, Empire systems shut down. Shields dropped. Engines went silent. The armada was trapped. An Empire admiral opened a channel. Panic breaking through training. "Human command," he said. "We surrender." Elias appeared on the screen. Surrender is for war, Elias replied. This is something else. The human fleet withdrew. They left the armada alive, powerless, for days. Empire officers sat in dead ships, unable to move, unable to fight. Forced to think. News spread quickly. Humanity was not conquering. Humanity was teaching fear. Across the galaxy, other species watched in silence. They had never seen power used this way. On Earth, a council met. They are broken now, a general said. We can end it. Elias shook his head. Ending it would let them forget. A scientist asked, how long do we continue? Elias looked at the list of names once more. As long as it takes, he said. In the Empire capital, Analyst Threx watched the immobilized fleet feed. They spared us, a council lord said. Why? Threx answered quietly. Because destruction would be mercy. The judge closed its eyes. For the first time, the Empire understood its place not above humanity, but beneath its judgment. Elias sent one final message that day. It was broadcast openly, without encryption. You taught us that lives can be measured, he said. Now you will live knowing that some debts cannot be paid. The transmission ended. The galaxy listened. And no one doubted anymore. This was not war. This was the other side of humanity. The war did not end with explosions. It ended with silence. Across the Galactic Empire, systems slowly came back online. Fleets regained power. Stations reopened. Trade routes resumed. On the surface, life continued. But something was broken forever. Officers who once laughed at human weakness now spoke in low voices. Admirals hesitated before giving orders. Engineers triple-checked systems that had never failed before. And everywhere, one rule spread without being written. Do not provoke humanity. On a distant neutral world, representatives of many species gathered in a quiet hall. They did not invite humans. They spoke about them. They could have taken territory, one delegate said. They could have wiped the Empire out, another replied. But they didn't, a third whispered. Why? No one had a good answer. In the Empire capital, Analyst Threx walked through corridors that once felt powerful. Now they felt fragile. He passed a wall where a damaged emblem had not been repaired. The council met again, smaller than before. We survived, a lord said, trying to sound strong. That is enough. Threx shook his head. Survival is not recovery. The judge looked at him. Explain. We lost something more important than ships, Threx said. We lost certainty. Every command we give now will carry doubt. The judge was silent. On Earth, life looked normal to the outside galaxy. Cities lit their skies. Children played. Ships launched for trade and exploration. But beneath the surface, something had changed. Human defenses never powered down. Human fleets did not grow large, but they grew quiet. New generations were taught history differently. Not with pride. With memory. In a small classroom, a teacher pointed to a simple sentence on the wall. Never again. A child raised her hand. Who wrote that? The teacher answered softly. Everyone. Elias Morgan stood on a balcony overlooking the ocean. The wind was strong, cold. A young officer joined him. They are afraid of us now, the officer said. Elias nodded. Good. Is that what we wanted? Elias did not answer right away. We wanted them to understand, he said finally. Fear is just the part that stays. The officer hesitated. And if they forget? Elias looked toward the horizon. Then we will remind them. Far away, in Empire space, a patrol ship detected an unknown signal. The crew froze. It's human, someone whispered. The signal passed by without stopping. No contact. No message. The crew released a breath they did not realize they were holding. Humanity had become a shadow. Not always seen, not always felt. Stories began to spread. Some were true. Some were not. But all carried the same warning. Humans do not rush to war. Humans do not threaten. Humans wait. On a border colony, an Empire governor canceled a planned weapons test near a human trade lane. No one questioned the decision. On another world, a military academy added a new lesson to its curriculum. Case study. Humanity. It was taught with caution. Analyst Threx stood alone in his quarters, reviewing old footage from the Judgment Hall. He watched the moment Elias Morgan heard the words. Statistically irrelevant. Threx paused the image. We thought emotions were a weakness, he said to no one. We were wrong. Emotion had given humanity memory. Memory had given them patience, and patience had given them power. On Earth, Elias visited the quiet room one last time. The wall of names remained. No new ones had been added. He placed his hand against the glass. We did not become monsters, he said softly. We became guardians. He turned and left the room. In the wider galaxy. Traders, diplomats, and soldiers all agreed on one thing. Human space was safe, because no one dared bring danger near it. The Galactic Empire still existed, but it would never again forget the fear that humanity had planted deep inside. A fear that did not fade. A fear that waited, just like humans did. Years passed. The galaxy changed, but not in the way wars usually change it. Borders stayed mostly the same. Empires still rose and fell. Trade continued. Politics continued not. Yet something invisible shaped every decision. Humanity. In the Galactic Empire. History records were rewritten, not to hide the truth, but to warn. Young officers studied the conflict in quiet halls. They did not cheer. They did not argue. They listened. The lesson was simple. Never touch human. Children. Never dismiss human loss. Never mistake silence for weakness. Analyst Threx was old now. His movements were slow, his scales dull with age. He stood before a class of future leaders, staring at a single image on the screen. It showed Elias Morgan in the Judgment Hall. Small, unarmed, calm. This, Threx said, is the moment the Empire failed? A student asked carefully, why did humans stop? Threx took a long breath. Because they proved their point, he said. And because they never wanted power. They wanted memory. On Earth, Elias Morgan was gone. He did not die in battle. He did not become a legend by force. He simply retired. His name appeared rarely in public records. Humanity did not build statues for him. They taught children about the event instead. Not with anger, with truth. Humanity did not celebrate what it had done. It remembered why it was done. A young girl once asked her mother, "Are we dangerous?" Her mother thought for a moment. "We are kind," she said. "But kindness needs a shield." That shield was never shown openly. Human ships still traveled the stars. They traded. They explored. They helped smaller species rebuild after disasters. Humans became known as reliable allies, but never careless ones. On a distant world, a small alien colony faced extinction after a mining accident poisoned their atmosphere. They sent calls for help to many powers. Only one arrived first. Human ships. They brought filters, medicine, food, and engineers. No speeches. No demands. An alien leader asked a human commander, "Why did you help us so quickly?" The human replied simply, "Because we remember what it is like to lose people." The story spread, slowly. The galaxy began to understand. Humans were not monsters. They were not saviors either. They were something else. They were a line. Do not cross it. In the Empire capital. Threx walked one last time through the old council chamber. Repairs had been made. The scars were hidden, but he could still see them. He paused where the judge once sat and whispered, "We learned too late. Not that humans were strong, but that humans cared deeply. And caring, when pushed too far, became unstoppable. Far from politics and fear. On a quiet hill on Earth, children played under an open sky. Ships crossed above them, small lights against the stars. Galaxy watched those lights carefully. No weapons. Powered up. No threats were spoken, because everyone knew the truth. Now, humanity's soft side builds worlds. Humanity's patient side protects them. And the other side, beside the Empire met, exists. Only for those who forget that children matter. In the deepest archives of the galaxy, a final sentence was added to the records of the Galactic Empire. The Empire survived humanity's strength. It was changed by humanity's restraint. And that was the greatest lesson of all. Humanity did not rule the galaxy. It did something far more powerful. Taught the galaxy how to behave.